This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. 36% of Americans now believe that Joe Biden is not a legitimate president. That is the real world byproduct and impact of Donald Trump's constant abuse of our election system, incessant attacks on things that undergird our democracy. What the impact is that Donald Trump's electability, right? His ability to get elected by his base and to be the Republican nominee has moved not a whit, but it has taken away from the legitimacy of Joe Biden. Should that come as any surprise? You can't spend 2 years and use social media and grifting and trolls and attacks on American democracy and the institutions of our democracy and the institutions of our election and not have a real world impact and have it back up on the current occupant of the White House. That's what we're seeing. Now, see, I would probably be less concerned if it was just Donald Trump trying to grift on the back of a lie, that the election was stolen from him, that he actually won and didn't lose, and the whole world turned upside down approach of Donald Trump. But now it's gotten to the point, as we suspected, even as we feared, that Donald Trump's constant chipping away at the legitimacy of the very electoral system that got him in the office in the first place was going to have an impact on the current occupant, and that being Joe Biden. I find it mind-boggling and slightly chilling that Joe Biden has lost 7% of credibility, legitimacy as a president. I'm not talking about issues that people may legitimately have about policy or about other aspects of his presidency. I'm talking about the legitimacy of him as president is in question with 36% of Americans. And that's up 7 points from where it was a year ago. It's an obvious byproduct. And it was the obvious goal of Donald Trump to do just that. He can't, Donald Trump, rehabilitate himself, so he has to debilitate his opponent, right? If you can't punch up, you punch down. That's what's happened here. You take the low road and you try with your bony hand to drag your opponent down to your street level. And that's what appears, at least on polling, to have happened. Now, how that manifests itself and intersects with real voting, no one knows. The polls are often wrong. Statistics are often wrong. There's an old line about statistics, right? There's 3 types of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I would throw polling in there as well. But it is disconcerting to see that the constant, relentless attack, the drip, drip, drip of going after election integrity by Donald Trump in order to declare anybody that was elected other than him to be illegitimate is having a real world impact. Now look, if you look at other polls, 70% or more of Americans today believe that Barack Obama is a secret Muslim that was born outside this country in violation of the Constitution, right? So it's not, I didn't fall out of my chair shocked, but I wanted people to understand that they should turn their ire and their attention not at the person that legitimately won the electoral college vote and was certified as the president to undermine the credibility of his office, but turn their attention to the person that's been charged with 91 felony counts, right? 19 of which has to do with the subversion of the election by a one-term president trying to convert himself through a feat of alchemy and fraud into a second-term president, and the clinging to power, the violation of the Constitution as a result. That's where we're at. You know, the headline is Joe Biden loses 7% in terms of legitimacy of his presidency. But that's not the only focus of this particular hot take. We've got to look at why Donald Trump's First Amendment rights come to a head and a loggerhead at the water's edge of criminal conduct and criminal provisions on our statutes. You can't just let him say and do anything, even if it's defamatory, a lie with no evidential support whatsoever, because the impact is that most Americans don't have time to do their own research, their own statistics, right? They get their news in blips, in short news cycles, in social media. I can't tell you the very high majority of people that get their news not from legitimate news organizations, not even from the MeidasTouch network, but from social media, TikTok, Twitter, X, Facebook, and the like. Most of America gets their news that way. It's not the evening news anymore where Americans, 80, 90, or 100 million huddle around while Uncle Walter tells us, or Dan Rather, or Tom Brokaw, or somebody from the 70s and 80s tells us this is the news of the day, or accepts, something like the paper of record, like the New York Times. Now everybody makes their own news feeds. They create their own news cycles. Right, that's tied to their own social media needs. That's injected and mainlined right into their veins, into their eyeballs. Right? We try to take with serious responsibility what we do here on the MeidasTouch network, on Legal AF. You hear me say time and time again, we don't blow smoke or sunshine. Right? We're just here to give you our legal analysis at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. And this is scary. I got to call it out. As I said, if it was just Donald Trump trying to fashion a defense and raise money and grift and fleece his donors, that would be one thing. But to leave in his wake people's belief that our system of government is in shambles. He's chipped away at the integrity of those systems and the three branches, right, of government, the separation of powers so much that we're seeing it in polling. As I said, say what you want about Donald Trump. And I have spent a number of years saying a lot about my analysis about Donald Trump. But I don't believe that he was elected illegitimately when he got in 2016. I don't believe that any of the presidents, except maybe George W. Bush being selected by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2000. Everybody else, but even him, let's go back to him for a minute. Even him, I didn't say he wasn't my president. I didn't agree with his policies. I didn't agree with his foreign policy. I didn't agree with his domestic policy. I didn't agree with how he ran the presidency. But he was my president until he wasn't my president as a Democrat, even though he's from the different party. The only president I've ever said is not my president. And I can't respect him in that office because he doesn't respect the office of the presidency is Donald J. Trump. And that's my own position. That's what brought me here to the MeidasTouch network. This is what brought me in as a founder, along with Ben Meiselas, of Legal AF. So we could explore these issues right now as a counterweight to what's going on in the polling. Now, again, I don't know how this polling will result in electoral votes, right, and popular votes among the several states to pick the president, but it's not helping. It's another drain, right, on the ticket for Joe Biden to have to overcome that people believe he's not the legitimate one. Talk about gaslighting. We love to throw that term around. Very famous movie, which I enjoyed, called Gaslight. People should go look it up so they understand how to properly use that phrase. But this is a proper use of that phrase, right? It's not me. I'm fine. It's your eyes are getting dark. The lights are flickering. The gas lights in the house are flickering. You're going insane. We don't see any of it. Dear, you must be something terribly wrong with you. That's Donald Trump here, right? I'm legitimate. He's illegitimate. My illegitimacy makes me legitimate. His illegitimacy makes him unelectable. That is the equation that's being ferreted out here by Donald Trump. So we're going to continue to analyze underneath the polling and then what it means to get beyond that to the time of voting. Look, it's easy for people to sit around and kibitz about who they're going to vote for right now, in January. Doesn't matter. It matters when you go to the polls, whether you go early voting, mail-in voting, absentee voting, or whatever's available to you in your particular state. And you pull that lever, electronic or otherwise, paper or otherwise, and you vote. You make the decision at that moment. And this is the kind of information you need to know. Don't be disheartened by the new polling that says, shit, Joe Biden just lost 6% of his credibility in the middle of the maelstrom that is Trump. How disheartening. Don't let it get you down. Understand it, learn it. So when you face somebody on the streets, at the polls, in doing your own campaigning, you know how to address it and the information to bring forward to them. I want to live in a world again where the presidency is legitimate, Supreme Court is legitimate, Congress is legitimate, 3 co-equal branches of government working together in a checks and balance system, our federalism of state and federal governments working together coherently, cohesively, the way the framers of our Constitution designed this country. I want to return to that. In order to do that, I've got to get people on the other side of the aisle, the ones that sit in the middle, and the independents, to join together and reform and re-knit together the social contract. It's in tatters at our feet. The social contract that binds us together and keeps us dignified, right? It keeps us civil in a civil discourse is in tatters around our ankles. We've got to pick it up. We've got to stitch it back together again. And we can't let people like Donald Trump appeal to our worst instincts. We have to appeal ourselves to our better angels, not to our worst devils. And that is the purpose of yes, it's disheartening, it's chilling, but pick up the pieces. Get the information you need on MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF and bring it to the people around you and try to change some hearts and minds before the actual election in November. We'll keep bringing you the information right here, but we can't do it alone, obviously. We have to have the people that follow this network, 2 million strong, go out there, and they can really, 2 million people can really make a difference, right? Some people compliment us. They say, Popok, if I get to meet them on the street, and I have, and I've been so thrilled to do that in 2023, and I'm sure it'll continue in 2024. People come up to me as if I was in the military, which I was not. And they use that phrase, thank you for your service. And I almost feel like we don't deserve it. But I understand where the sentiment is coming from, and I appreciate it. But multiply the contributors on this network and the founders on this network by a lot, by 1 million. And that's you, right? You're, to paraphrase Barack Obama, you're the change that you're looking for. You're the network that you're looking for here in the MeidasTouch Network. So follow me on Legal AF, and we'll break it down just like this way with new information every week, twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And on hot takes like this one, if you like what we're doing here, what I'm doing here, give me a thumbs up and keep the ratings high. Keep me on the air, so to speak. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.